Hi and welcome back to my A to Z video series on topics to do with pregnancy and perinatal mental health. My name is Dr. Erin Bow and I'm a clinical and perinatal psychologist, and I also teach hypnobirthing. We're up to the letter M today, so we're almost halfway, nearly. You'll start noticing that I'm getting a bit more breathy. I'm well into the third trimester now, and so I'm noticing as I watch these videos back that I'm having a bit more heavy breathing as everything moves up. So anyway, okay, so today I think we're going to talk about mum guilt. So you might be wondering, why am I starting to talk about mum guilt when this is a video series mostly aimed at people who are becoming pregnant or are pregnant? I think that's because it starts early. Mum guilt starts really, really early. If you think about just going back to, I suppose, the background of your pregnancy. So it seems to be, let's say you conceived really easily and it was a surprise maybe. You know, the minute that you start having, oh, I'm not enjoying this, or my child's annoying me type thoughts, you might start feeling guilty because of how easily you got pregnant, when you've got friends who've been trying for years and have gone through heartache and all those kinds of things. But having said that, then you look at people who have maybe really, really been surprised by their pregnancy, and then their first reaction maybe wasn't the most positive, and it was met with a lot of other kind of emotions that are maybe, you know, not their first thing that they want to maybe tell their child later on. But you know, these things usually work out and it's fine. So then there's the guilt around being the person whose first reaction to their pregnancy wasn't like, oh yay, I'm so excited, but something else. And then of course you've got the people who really have struggled, like it's taken them years. They've got these amazing IVF miracle babies who they just want to wrap up in cotton wool and take so much care of, but then there's all the, oh, I should be more grateful, I should be more grateful. I'm not allowed to complain about feeling sick in my pregnancy. I'm not allowed to complain about my child's behaviour. I'm not allowed to complain about the fact that I'm not enjoying this every single minute of every single day. And I think that's where a lot of this guilt comes from. This idea that, I suppose, the ultra feminine idealised view of women is that we're supposed to be these amazing, nurturing, caring, all day, 24 hours a day type people who either don't focus on themselves at all, because that's selfish, or that somehow you should be able to split your roles perfectly evenly and have everything kind of topped up, and there's no messy corners in your life, which isn't anybody's life. I'm here to tell you that it is true, that thing about don't look at other people's lives on Facebook and see, you know, their snapshot of, or their movie promotion kind of version of how their life is, and think that's how their life is totally. It's just a snapshot. Some people work really, really hard not to let other people know that they're struggling. Others, it just comes out, and it comes out a little bit more openly and honestly than maybe they would like. And then there's the people in the middle. So there's no kind of right way, wrong way about it. But I'm here to tell you, everybody's got mum guilt, and it's not about trying to get rid of it. These words around banishing mum guilt, getting rid of mum guilt, as if it's just something you can kind of wave a magic wand and go, woohoo, we've gotten rid of it. I'm not saying it's about totally just going, oh well, you're stuck with it, too bad, this is just part of being a mum. But I think there are ways that we can figure out how to acknowledge that it's there and just get back to normal life and doing what we're doing. So a huge part of my work that I do with people, not just mums, parents, everybody, is using positive psychology techniques and a bit of mindfulness. Thinking about thoughts, funnily enough, because every emotional reaction pretty much starts with a thought, whether we're actually conscious of it or not. But I guess this idea that when you have negative thoughts, the temptation is to try and block them out, not think about them, get rid of them, somehow, something like that. But if you look at like extreme examples where people have extremely negative thoughts all day long and it's almost unbearable. So things like when someone's got post-traumatic stress and they keep reliving a really traumatic thing that happened to them over and over and over, or maybe they've got OCD, and I don't mean like the kind of generic how we talk about OCD, like you know, you like things in straight lines and you prefer even numbers than odd numbers. I mean, all day, all night, really, really intrusive, unpleasant thoughts. The first temptation is to like stop thinking about it. Get it out of my mind, don't even touch it with a 10-foot pole. But of course we know that doesn't work. In fact, the one thing to make your negative thoughts worse is to give them too much attention, is to jump on them and have an emotional reaction like, oh, I'm having this thought. What does it mean that I'm having this thought? What if other people knew I was having this thought? There's ways to live with them that aren't about getting rid of them completely, but are about gently acknowledging that everybody has negative thoughts. Some of us have more than others. Some people are just more aware of them than others, and your thoughts can't hurt you. And that's the main thing to think about. You know, it doesn't matter what thoughts you're having about your pregnancy, about your relationship, about your kids that are you deep, dark. I would never want anyone to know I'm thinking about that, because then they'd take my kids off me and I wouldn't be allowed to, and all this kind of stuff, thinking that we all do. It's about having a thought, going, oh yeah, okay, I acknowledge I've had that thought, but I can go back to doing what I'm doing. So I mean, my point is that just acknowledgement is sometimes the most healing thing that we can have with our negative thoughts. So just acknowledging that the mum guilt is there and that the thought is there, rather than trying to squash it down, rather than trying to fix it, rather than trying to do something that you think you're supposed to be doing to get rid of it, just acknowledging it and taking a couple of seconds to go, okay, I'm having a not great thought about myself. These things happen. Do I really need to pay attention to this right now? Or do I go back to concentrating on the task of driving, as it might be? It's when you allow yourself to just focus on one thing at a time, what it is you need to do right now, that you actually start feeling better. So I think there's no sort of useful way of sitting with the guilt and letting it consume you. It almost is kind of like going back to that old Buddhist Zen philosophy of your thoughts are just thoughts. They're like ripples. They come in waves. Sometimes they're going to be much bigger waves than others, and that's okay. Those thoughts maybe need a bit more attention, and those are the times we think, okay, I need to do something differently. I need to get some sun on my face. I need to make a cup of tea. I need to have a shower. I need to just do something to switch up my thinking. But I'm talking about it's almost like the micro thoughts, like those tiny, tiny, tiny little thoughts that just creep into our head and we don't do anything with them. It's better to just acknowledge that they're there. Okay, so the other analogy that I sometimes use, which is a good one for mums, is it's like this mum guilt with you is kind of like having like a nagging toddler at you all the time, at you. And sometimes we need to just acknowledge that they're there and say something along the lines of like, I see you, mummy's listening, I'm doing something at the moment, I'll come back to you in 2 minutes or whatever it might be, rather than hoping that you can just keep ignoring them for a long enough time and not flip your lid, or that you jump on it immediately and try and do something to not make them nag, or that you fulfill their every single request the minute that they ask you for something. So it's similar to that balance of finding, okay, yep, that thought is there, it's needing my attention, can I come back to it later, or do I need to respond to it right now? And it really is just about acknowledgement. And the more that you acknowledge, all right, I've had a negative thought, it's okay, thoughts can't hurt me, I'll move on. The easier they do get to manage. And this is a practice thing. It's not like, this is a lifelong practice thing. There's not some, you know, amazing technique that you can learn just overnight or in a couple of weeks to make the guilt go away. It's just a matter of trying to navigate it, if that makes sense. All right, I could talk about mum guilt for hours and hours and hours, but I won't. There's resources that I have that are constantly in development about this, because it just seems to be something that I keep hearing about again and again and again, and I think it's just such a relatable thing that so many of us go through. So keep your eyes out. I have more things coming out, blog posts and resources and things like that. So you can follow me, probably the easiest is at my website drerin.com.au, and I'll put all the links for Instagram and all those other social media things that I do underneath, because I can't remember them all off the top of my head. Alright, if you want to know more about pregnancy and perinatal mental health, or hypnobirthing, or mentoring if you're a birth worker or a perinatal professional, those are kinds of things that I specialise in. And we're doing N next week for No Such Thing as a Normal Birth. So I will catch you then. Bye.